You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And joining us now is Ni George Anda, who is MP Ewutu-Seya West and Deputy Communications Minister. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Samson, and good morning to your viewers and to the co-panelists.
Great. So, as you may have also followed, let me just read one more message from Charles Rekobrobe. He says that the president must in all situations, including on security and emergency issues, act within the laws laid down in the Constitution. So thanks for that message. There are lots of messages that have been sent in on the KELNI situation. And if you do the aggregation, it does appear that the government's intervention is unpopular. But there are also those who are asking that where was the Otumfuo himself too? If we're saying that he could also intervene and resolve it, where was he? Okay, so let's go to KELNI, that controversial matter that Imani Ghana has been leading, Imani Africa has been leading for quite a long time. And then sometime this week, the president eventually launched or commissioned the monitoring platform. So it does appear that the matters have been put to rest. Is that not the case? Well, Imani has issued a statement and suggesting a number of things that the president ought not have given his endorsement in this process. More importantly, they say that they have done a review of the KELNI GVG contract, which is costing the state $178 million. They say by their analysis, it shows that the whole project could be undertaken for less than 1% of the amount that has been quoted, and that the intended approach is not substantively different from what the country has been doing for many years now. And yet the communications taxes, that's the communication service tax, for a period has dropped from 58 million in 2016 to 54 million in 2017, despite Ghana spending about $32 million a year on various measures designed to protect the revenue. So what they are suggesting is that what is being done will not really amount to anything because we have done things over and again and they've not yielded results. Let's begin with, George, to try to get an understanding of where the government stands as far as these matters are concerned. What do you make of Imani's position at this point?
Well, I'm not too sure which particular position of Imani you may be referring to.
Yeah, so what I have just canvassed, that's regards the fact that we shouldn't have proceeded with this project in the first place.
Well, something I'm sure that you very much appreciate the fact that the implementation of the common monitoring platform is based on law, okay? It's within the provisions of the Electronic Communications Act for the Minister of Communications and the Minister of Finance to put in place a common monitoring platform that would help assure government of the revenue, would help assure government that the traffic on the networks is being properly monitored. It would help assure government of the revenue or the activity on mobile money, and finally put in place the anti-fraud system. And so I'm not too sure exactly where Imani might be or what is informing the position of Imani. And let us also bear in mind that we've come from a regime where there were two entities that were providing some aspect of this service for the NCA and from the Ghana Revenue Authority, which was a total illegality, or it wasn't in line with what the law was saying. What we have tried to do is to comply with the law and indeed increase the scope of the services that are being delivered. So whereas in the past it was just the revenue assurance bit, it's expanded to cover additional areas. So you're doing the mobile money monitoring, or it has the capability to do the mobile money monitoring. It has the capability to do the anti-fraud, which anti-fraud was being done in the past. It has the capacity to do revenue assurance and the traffic monitoring. So it's a wider scope of what we are doing. What was being done in the past was the two services for 2.5, let's say $2.6 million a month. What we are doing now is 4 services in real time. The previous arrangement was looking at processing CDR records from the telcos. Now we're getting an independent source and processing our own CDRs for 1.49. So even you say it's 1.5, there's a savings of $1.1 million a month. And indeed, there are very few entities that have the capacity to deliver a service like that. So it's a bit difficult for me to fully appreciate the concerns that
at this moment
that are being raised, because for us, what we're doing is we are implementing the law, and we believe that by the end of the year, would see some significant results to add value. Indeed, even if you go to the network operating center right now, and I would invite all of us, I mean, if we have time, maybe during the week, we should go to the network operating center and see what is happening. You see the traffic that is being monitored, you see the revenue, you see from the fraud money or anti-fraud management point of view, the number of SIMs from different networks that are being used for illegal calling activities, illegal termination of calls. And I think that we'll all start to appreciate what this whole system is all about. And I guess the big announcement that the rest of Ghana will be waiting for is an assurance that we are securing revenue and that this has actually delivered value for money. And I think periodically it's our responsibility to be communicating same to the public.
I see. The question now, as we understand, is that there is an endorsement of illegality, according to, Imani, whose view is supported by the Ningo Prampram MP, Sam George, who is supposed to be on the committee that I suppose you are also on in Parliament. He says the president has, by this single act, put his name in the annals of this country, that he is the president who endorses illegality, who endorses criminality, illegality, and does not have respect for value for money. Value for money is a thing that Imani continues to drum home. Sam George says that he does not understand how a contract worth $180 million US dollars will be signed off in the process of awarding, will be signed off illegally without the due processes set out in the Ghanaian law. Imani says their investigations also revealed that the procurement processes were fraught with a lot of wrong.
Can I come in?
Yes, please.
Okay. So again, I believe that His Excellency the President has not committed any illegality. I started my first submission pointing out the fact that there's a law, okay, and the law was being implemented. As far as the procurement process is concerned, there are very few entities that have the capacity to deliver the service that we're looking at. And it was the response. It was part of the conditions because we wanted to transfer the capacity from the local content point of view. It was part of the conditions that these entities themselves identified local companies, and it wasn't a requirement for the local companies to necessarily have expertise. Okay, if the local companies had the expertise, then would have gone directly with the local companies. So I'm not too sure. I still am not getting the point on what the illegality is. And Samson, I mean, from a quick back of envelope calculation, if 2 of these services were delivered at $2.6 million a month, okay, and now we have an enhanced scope of 4 services being delivered at $1.5 million a month. Okay, beyond that, you have a situation where the equipment that is being used to deliver these services, the latest upgrade of the equipment is being handed over to the government at the end of the period, hopefully by which time, not hopefully, but definitely by which time the local capacity would have been built in Ghana, then it's a bit difficult for me to fully appreciate where they are coming from. I mean, if somebody is saying that
the value for money,
yeah, exactly. Okay, and if somebody is saying that this thing can be delivered at a fraction of the cost, and I think that it's only fair that that person also demonstrates how they can deliver it, what is the scope, because I mean, I can see this flask, okay, and I can say that it's worth 10 CDs, okay, but he might have bought it for 50 CDs because maybe the insulation system is different. I mean, the flask that what I'm thinking about is something that would be used for 6 months. What he wants is something that could be used for a year or two. So, I mean, as far as the Ministry of Communications and the Ministry of Finance with this particular contract is concerned, I believe that, I mean, we are always listening. We are always open to engage. Whatever it is that somebody feels they don't understand, please come to us and let us explain it, because the misinformation is a bit too much. And again, I mean, I don't want to call out names, but if somebody is saying that there's an illegality between 2.5 that your administration, or 2.6 that your administration was comfortable with for 2 services, why should you be uncomfortable with a savings of 1.1 for an enhanced scope in real time? So some of these things is not the media engagement, okay? If we put scope of work, we put value for money in there, we can sit down and address whether the concerns are.
They suggest that what is being done is not substantially different from what the country has been doing for the years. And they are saying that we have done a number of things for this kind of purpose, and yet the communication service tax dropped from $85 million in 2016 to it dropped from $58 million in 2016 to 54. That's $4 million off in 2017, despite the fact that we have spent about 32 million a year on the measures to do what we call protect revenue.
But you see, again, that's why I say that we should all understand the scope of the work. I mean, off the top of my head, if you say talk tax has decreased, it's very easy to try and explain that, okay? Because I'll be talking to Sami on a regular call a year ago. Okay, now for some other reasons, maybe for security, for ease of comfort with the expansion of data, the investment in data infrastructure, I can decide to talk to Sami on a WhatsApp call. Okay, so in as much as my data, okay, would be used, my talk tax, okay, or the talking component of the amount of money that I'm putting out there would decrease. Okay, and that is also one of the reasons why we want to understand exactly how the traffic is moving, okay, and how the revenue is being developed. You understand? So for somebody to say that is the same thing, I mean, something I'm sure you and I agree that definitely is not the same thing. Okay, one is not in the past we weren't doing this thing in real time. Okay, now we are doing it in real time. In the past, we're collecting data from the telcos. Okay, and analyzing that data from the telcos. Now what we're doing is that Sami is a telco, he's giving me the data. Samson is KELNI GVG operating the common monitoring platform. They are generating their own data. And so they can look at it too, okay? And then they can tell what actual revenue is being generated and what amount of tax should be paid. Okay, again, it cannot be the same thing because it was 2 solutions that were being delivered. Now it's 4 solutions that are being delivered. It cannot be the same because with the previous arrangement, the equipment was not owned by government at the end of the day. It was an asset that belonged to the vendor or to the partner. With this arrangement, the asset belongs to the government of Ghana, and not just the asset that belongs to the government of Ghana, but the latest version, the latest upgrade of the asset, of the technology, okay, is going to be owned by the government of Ghana, by which time the capacity should have been transferred to the local local companies, and NCA and the Ghana Revenue Authorities would have the capacity to run this thing on their own. Don't forget that in the past, you had the NCA signing one contract and you had the GRA signing another contract for the same data that was being processed. So, I mean, it didn't make economic sense. I mean, it was a drain on the taxpayer. So obviously, it is not the same. It cannot be the same.
Okay. Yeah. Sam, what do you say? What's been your observation about this issue so far? Of course, we know that Imani and some people, the issues that they had with this have led them to file suits in the court. I think at the last count, about 4 or so suits. And then Franklin Kujo, president of Imani, confirmed to Joy FM that after strenuous advocacy on the matter, lawyers of KELNI GVG approached their lawyers and to settle the contentious matters out of court, and they got together and they reached a settlement on the privacy issue. You remember they were saying that they would sort of, you know, be able to use the process to, as it were, get to know of the things we do in private or illegally, you know. Then the privacy issue is the one they say has been settled with a joint working group that includes the telecoms chamber to independently monitor against privacy breaches. However, their biggest case, which is the breaches of financial administration laws, or what has become known as the value for money test, has not been settled. They say KELNI GVG lawyers agreed on a working technical committee to deal with that as well. And they went to give us all of the updates about what is going on. They were suspected actually to have received some money, as it were, some kickback, and then backed out. They say that's not what has happened.
Well, Samson, I take this from a governance perspective. It is my considered view that after 26 years of a fourth Republican dispensation, we should improve in ways that we give assurance to the public that we want to be more transparent, we want to be more accountable, and that we are committed in the fight against corruption, perceived or real. I would have thought that the concerns that Imani raised, and you ought to credit Imani, they have been very consistent. And I think that after 26 years, again, we should depart from antagonizing civil society organizations. I think that it is most regrettable, the attempt to impugn wrong motives and allege that they have received money and all of that. It's totally needless. And I've seen some fights even that have erupted in cyberspace, you know, with, you know, names I don't want to mention. And it's been very nasty, very, very nasty. I don't think that we should descend into that arena. Imani has been consistent. I mean, they were more vociferous, I would say, when we were in power. And I think that it is to their credit, unlike some other civil society organizations that appear to be regime-focused, so that you only hear them when a particular party is in power. When another party comes to power, then they are no more interested in the same.
That's a general observation. But what do you say to others who say
So,
they don't seem to be willing to concede where they may have erred?
I don't see any clear cases of erring. I stand to be corrected if it is pointed out to me that they erred here, they made mistakes there, they got the facts wrong. I would then side with those. But so far, on the issues of value for money, that there was no value for money audit, that is a fact. 2, that there are serious procurement breaches. I have read all the Imani updates, including a gentleman called Mohammed Amin Suleiman, who used to work for KELNI GVG, who was part of the tender committee, who should have recused himself. They have raised serious concerns about that. I have not seen that that has been challenged. If you come to consider even the companies, they have given us a behind-the-scenes revelation. And I was really stunned reading those revelations. I mean, directors who appear in multiple companies, because remember that this was done under restrictive tendering, and there are procurement rules in this country. You know, it does appear, if Imani is right, that the whole tender process, the 4 companies that took part in the bid were related somewhat.
That's why they took up the suit. Is that not so?
Yeah.
So you filed the suit.
They took up the suit in the privacy aspect. But you see, I don't want to lose track from the main point I was making from the governor's point of view.
Well, the privacy aspect was by Sarah Safueje and Maximus Sametogo.
Yes,
but privacy aspect was dealt with in court.
It's been withdrawn.
Injunction. No, it wasn't withdrawn.
Injunction was refused.
Exactly.
And then they have withdrawn that.
No, sorry for ruling.
Sure, no, that's fine.
The request or the appeal for an injunction was refused by the court.
Of course.
Okay, and the court said that they had no basis. Okay,
we have gone beyond that. The suit itself.
Yes,
so it's no more in court.
Exactly. It was because the application for the injunction was ruled against. Okay, the basis for which the applicants were asking for an injunction didn't hold. Okay, because we did prove in court that there were
because of time, injunction gone.
Yes,
that one we know.
Yes,
but the injunction is not the substantive suit. They have a suit, and then they went to ask for an injunction on top of the suit.
Yes,
pending the suit being determined.
Yes.
So then subsequently they have withdrawn the suit itself.
What I'm saying is that the basis for the injunction being refused diluted the case
itself.
itself.
So as far as in your estimation, even the main suits would have been useless.
Exactly, because the judge made it clear. The judge made it clear that Imani had not been able, that the applicants had not been able to prove that there were any privacy breaches. Okay, I mean, indeed, what we did with our written submissions, which none of the telcos challenged.
But the judge didn't say he has ruled on the substantive suit.
No,
you are just saying they felt they wouldn't have a case.
No, I'm saying that the basis for which they were asking for the injunction was the same basis of the suit.
Okay.
Okay. Now, in the judge's ruling, he stated clearly that, Sami, this matter that you're bringing to me, it doesn't hold, because you haven't been able to prove to me that your rights are being abused.
Okay.
Okay. And indeed, the Ministry of Communications and the NCA had proven that with the redesign of the system which had been done, okay, following the meetings that we had with the telcos, okay, indeed the first design didn't have even a possibility of a breach, but there was then double assurance, because all the data now...
Double assurance after their complaints?
No, double assurance after our meetings with the telcos. And you see, I'm sorry that I'm interrupting him, but just for the benefit of all of us, the process is that you want to implement a common monitoring platform. SAMI is a telco, and so you write to SAMI. This is the design that I want to implement. SAMI has 7 days to respond. And it's not always that what you feel you want to do is right. That is why the law makes provision that you give the other party room to respond. The telcos didn't take advantage of that to respond. Okay, and so technically, the Ministry of Communications and the NCA or GRA and Ministry of Finance could have gone ahead to do the implementation, because from the legal point of view, you hadn't respected the opportunity for you to respond. Fast forward, we had these discussions. The telco said they will come with their concerns. They came with their concerns. In as much as we didn't 100% agree with them, for us to be able to move the process forward, we decided that we'll put in place a filter into the design. Okay, so that filter, I mean, for the purpose of this discussion, is like a washing machine. Okay, the telcos were of the view that where the system was being plugged in, data beyond what the law requires might be collected. Okay, and so the agreement then was that, okay, so put in all this information through this filter or washing machine.
Now, who pays for those filter boxes?
So the government of Ghana...
my information is that it's also coming at extra cost.
KELNI GVG absorbed that cost.
Okay. It didn't come at a cost to the telcos.
All of these were the federal assurances that led Imani to be comfortable in a manner in which the settlement was done.
And it didn't come as a cost.
Let's have something finish his point.
It was absorbed by KELNI GVG.
I'll go for a quick break. Let's have your finish
your
take.
Get where I'm coming from.
Quick.
So you see, from the governor's perspective, this is $178 million. If we terminate this contract today, per the terms of the agreement, Ghana has to cough up 50% of the cost of this $178 million. So it's no chicken feed. This is, I mean, no mean investment we are making. So with all of these allegations coming up, we in the minority had cause to make an application to the Speaker, which was granted. The Minister for Communications appeared before the House. We were not satisfied. Where do we go from here? I would have thought that instead of the President attending the lunch, in the midst of all of this controversy, and remember that the telcos are still not, from all indications, pleased with this arrangement. The Minister of Communications every now and then has to, issue threats.
She's cracking the whip now.
Yes.
You've heard her last statement.
I mean, so what stopped the President from just opening a probe on this? This is what will have happened in other jurisdictions. The special prosecutor could have been invited.
He didn't find a basis for a probe.
There could have been. I mean, you can't tell us that there is no basis when, if you look at the fact, look at even how the speed, working on holidays and all of that.
The matters have been put in court, including the value for money or the procurement processes. The President steps in, then you come and accuse the President of having, as it were, overreached the courts.
We are told that the court processes have been discontinued, isn't it?
Some have been discontinued.
Imani withdrew its case. So instead of the President just going...
But if you listen to him carefully, sorry about this. If you listen to him carefully, it is not the case that they did anybody any favor by withdrawing the case. Because after the injunction had been determined, it was seen that the substantive matter had no leg to stand on. So as far as he's concerned, I mean, no impression should be created as if they did that.
You see, that is on the issue of the privacy.
The privacy, yeah.
There are other matters.
Yeah.
There's a substantive
There's the one
case,
on the procurement there.
Then there are the procurement breaches. And I'm saying that in all of this, how do we convince the Ghanaian, the people whose mandate we carry, that indeed we are acting above board? That is...
What should be done at this stage? The project has been launched.
Because you see, what has also not come up so far is the extra cost to the state by the illegal termination.
It says it's cost to
of the Suba contract, because we are hearing that you've had to pay Suba.
They've done a settlement.
Some compensation.
They've done a settlement.
Sorry,
I need to take a break at this
point. We need a probe, an independent probe in this matter, so that it helps you to
there's no need for a probe. Whatever information or clarity that you want can easily be provided.
I'll take a break here.
I'll
be right back.
So there's no clarity.
We'll hear it does appear will be brief views of Abochi and Kweku on this matter. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. Time running out on us, but George will give some explanation. I want to hear briefly from Kofi Abochi and Kweku, at least 2 minutes each, and then we will hear from George. But this is an instructive comment coming in from Chris Adomakukwachi, your colleague lecturer at the KNUST at the time you were there. Yeah. He says that what you find on the university statutes is that the university stands in loco parentis with the students. So let the students understand that they stand in loco parentis with the students. Thank you very much. Okay, so Kweku, briefly, in some 2 minutes, this KELNI thing that is never going away.
Well, technically, I'm not very competent in those areas, but I pray that all this noise that we heard earlier, all the controversies and things, wasn't an invitation to embark on a wild goose chase. People have gone to court, they've discontinued their claims without the liberty to reapply.
Some of them, not all of them.
The 3 cases in court, are they still pending?
They have one more. I think there's still one more pending also.
I'm not sure about that. There were 3 cases.
Yeah.
I think they've all been withdrawn.
Okay.
Of course, they may have an alternative forum. I think I heard Imani suggest that Shraj could be there to deal with the other matters.
Right.
Yes, but I would advise the Ministry of Communications to stay focused on the program that has taken off. That has taken off. Ghanaians need value for money relative to that project. They must make sure that the objectives that they have outlined for the program are fulfilled. If in the few years' time we get announcements, the statistics to show that in real terms revenue is building up, they're making progress. I do not understand the technicalities. I've been told in terms of the value of the contract, some people think it's suspect. They may subject that to the appropriate interrogation. But as far as I'm concerned, right now, it appears that the focus should be on the takeoff and the efficiency and results that this program will bring to the nation. Otherwise, too much noise. It's giving me the impression maybe we are dealing with the same KNUST team.
Okay,
the same feeling.
Like Sami says, you know, they ought to be giving a listening ear to assist in the process. Imani says, for example, that because of the manner that this matter was handled, the process was handled, Suba alone got a settlement which cost Ghanaian taxpayers $26 million. That $22 million of this amount is described in the settlement as arrears for services already rendered. And they say the truth is that those services were frustrated due to the dogged determination of the ministry to ram through the KELNI contract at all cost. They're suggesting that at each point we may be losing money.
Well, the context of the award of Suba and the circumstances surrounding Suba at the time created a lot of controversies. I think it is out of the abundance of caution and from experience of history that we will therefore want to ensure that there is no repeat for this. I need to state at this point that as we speak, there's no court determination of any matter, and therefore anything we say, we can only say on assumptions, assuming this is true, assuming that is true, because nobody knows what it is. I have to just start by saying, and start and end, because I know we don't have time, but I have to just start and end by saying that, you know, I find two people whom I do deeply respect on the opposite end of the spectrum. Frank Kujo is quite a bit of a friend, and the Honorable Minister is a very good friend of mine, and I respect both very deeply in terms of their sense of integrity and what they do. However, they can't both be speaking the truth, and that's where the problem is, because they are speaking like on the opposite end of the spectrum. That's a problem.
I like that.
You know, I like both and I respect both, and I do believe that what they're both saying is true. However, they are speaking on the opposite end of the spectrum. So one has to be true. So in the absence of this, I'm just going to probably urge George and the ministry that I think instead of the reactive nature of the information, probably the ministry should assume a proactive posture moving forward. And so there probably should be some
they needed to
volunteering.
give documents about this contract. They didn't do it. It took a compulsion from the court to get them to do so.
So maybe some volunteering of information moving forward. Let's face it. We have a deputy minister who was in the business before becoming deputy minister. And then we have a minister who has been closely associated. I think for those who may have forgotten, is it Westel? She's been around telcos. She's been around telcos for a long time. These are people who are industry insiders who understand the dynamics of it. And I think George can lose all of us if he decides to go technical, and they will just be watching on. And you know, when you don't understand, you're impressed. So we just get impressed. When you don't understand something, just bamboozle and then impressed. But I know they know what they're saying. So for ministers, for people who have been put in positions of authority, they have their clout of trusteeship. They're supposed to trust. They're supposed to manage as trustees the resources of states vested in them. At this stage, I would just want to believe on the face of it that whatever the ministry is saying, they are acting on our behalf prudently. But moving forward and in the best interest of clarity and to dispel doubts, it will help if the ministry comes out with a comprehensive response in detail, and one which will allow them to probably take questions, to put things to rest.
It may appear that they feel that they have done enough on this subject.
They've done quite a lot.
Sorry, but we've run out of time. My guests have been George Anda, MP Ewutu Senya West, and Deputy Communications Minister. Kofi Abochi is immediate past Dean, Gempa Law, and partner, Axis Legal Solicitors. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa is Nortong, MP and ranking member, Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. And Abdul Malik Kubaku, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Earlier, we had Yabu Abinga Samoa also joining us. And from the love that is being shown to Abochi's appearance, we would wish that you come back next week, because we have shelved about 2 more issues that we needed to deal with.
Can I wish Honorable Kwame Nabatels a happy birthday?
Kwame Nabatels, happy birthday. Have a good afternoon. I'm Samson Ladia.